The champagne flutes were crystal. The violinist played Vivaldi. The tent in our garden glowed with golden lights strung from imported olive branches, and my name was not on the program. It was the launch party for my brother's political campaign, hosted by our family company, Ashcroft Dominion Energy. Attended by donors, consultants, 3 local journalists, and me, somewhere near the edge of the catering table. As always, they called me discreet, efficient, quietly essential, like the backup generator they forget exists until the power goes out. My father raised his glass, standing tall in his usual navy suit and unearned confidence. To Thane, the next face of the Commonwealth, to Camille, our shining light of culture and grace, and to Rowan for holding the fort while the leaders lead. He chuckled, the kind of chuckle that asks for applause without needing to beg. Some people were born to command, others, well, they just keep the folders organized. Laughter, warm, polished, echoing under chandeliers that I paid to restore after hurricane damage 5 years ago. Camille's laugh was sharp, like glass tapping a rim. Thane winked at me, condescending, like he thought I'd be flattered. I didn't laugh, didn't raise my glass. I walked to the mic, not with fury, not with drama, just precision. "Thank you for that, Dad," I said, my voice calm. "Good to know the obsolete operating system still holds root access." Silence, longer than anyone expected. Even the violinist froze mid-note. I stepped down and left the tent. They thought that was just another sarcastic line. But the next morning, I sent the email that would bring the campaign and their illusion of control to a full stop. The ledger began when I was 15. Not a real one, just a habit of writing down what I gave and what they never gave back. It started with a $900 wire transfer. Dad had taken a loss on a contract in Raleigh. I'd won a regional STEM grant. They asked to borrow the check until the market bounced back. It never bounced, but the granite countertops in the kitchen arrived 2 weeks later. No one said thank you, but Camille posted a photo of the backsplash with the caption, "Powerful women build beautiful things." At 17, I deferred my early admission to Carnegie Mellon because Thane's campaign manager had misfiled the PAC disclosures, and we were one audit away from implosion. I spent the summer consulting, translation, ghostwriting his platform and scrubbing the family foundation's financials while Camille flew to Milan for a brand internship. They called me brilliant. Behind closed doors, in public, I was just the one who prefers spreadsheets to sunlight. By 22, I was refinancing a property in Norfolk, one my father bought under Camille's name, to quietly settle a class-action lawsuit involving unpaid construction crews. We used the same lawyer we'd once sued. I remember signing the final check in a hotel bathroom while Camille filmed a TikTok outside. At 25, I cashed out my investment portfolio, everything. The boutique Camille ran was weeks from collapse. Suppliers were threatening to walk. She was crying at 2:14 a.m., saying the family name would be dragged through the mud. I transferred $60,000 by sunrise. That night, she posted a photo in front of the boutique. Caption, "Self-made, from ashes to empire." Still, I didn't say anything. Not when they forgot my birthday. Not when my father said at a board meeting that real leadership runs in firstborn veins. Not when Camille received a Women of Innovation Award for an eco-product I designed, coded, and licensed to her quietly. I wasn't invisible. I was their infrastructure. But they only noticed infrastructure when it collapses. And I had just stopped holding weight. There's a clause in our family trust, tucked beneath the estate charter and asset migration schedule, filed in 2015, signed by Mother, witnessed, notarized, sealed. It's called the silent trustee trigger, a contingency in case of scandal, incapacity, or prolonged negligence of fiscal ethics. 3 boxes, Only one needs to be checked. It was drafted the week Camille's offshore accounts were flagged by the IRS. Mother was terrified of losing the family name. She signed everything I put in front of her. "Just fix it, Rowan," she whispered. Quietly, I fixed it and kept the clause just in case. On Monday morning, I opened the safe in my Georgetown apartment. Inside was the original document along with my own signature, added 3 years later when Thane's campaign misused corporate funds for polling. I'd cleaned it up, of course, wrote the check, covered the trail, but I signed the clause. At 8:47 a.m., I sent an email to our general counsel. Subject, trigger activation, silent trustee attachment, the clause, the time-stamped financial trail, 3 press clippings, and my audit of the past 7 years line by line with footnotes. I didn't add commentary, didn't call anyone, didn't warn them, because that's the thing about silent authority. It doesn't ask for permission. It simply executes. By 10:12 a.m., the board had frozen the campaign donations. By noon, Camille's boutique's bank account was flagged for review. By 2:00 p.m., Thane's chief of staff resigned, citing unexpected conflicts within the family office. By sunset, my father called me 4 times. I didn't answer. I wasn't looking for revenge, just recognition. And sometimes to be seen, you have to show people what silence can do when it finally speaks. They didn't text, didn't call ahead, didn't ask if I had time. They just showed up. Ashcroft Hall hadn't changed much. Except now I had the keys, not just to the house, to the vault, the board, the name. My father entered first, dark suit, jaw locked, eyes already scanning the space like he was looking for something to disapprove of. Camille followed in heels too high for confrontation. Her lip gloss shimmered under the chandelier I personally restored. She didn't speak, not yet. Thane was last, no tie, rolled sleeves. He tried to play it casual, like the building didn't groan under his weight. "Father, you've made your point, Rowan, now reverse it." Rowan, which part? The clause, the silence, the decade of funding none of you acknowledged. Camille coldly, the boutique's been frozen, staff are panicking, vendors are pulling contracts. Rowan, so now you see what happens when the infrastructure walks away. Thane, you're sabotaging the campaign, your own brother. Rowan, I cleaned up your embezzlement. Twice, I ghost-wrote your policy statements. And I paid off the private investigator your team didn't know got sloppy. So no, this isn't sabotage, it's withdrawal. Father, you're tearing this family apart. Rowan, quietly. I've been holding it together, you just never looked close enough to see the glue was cracking. Rowan, you asked me to fix things. I did. You just assumed I'd keep doing it forever. Camille, you're using this to humiliate us. Rowan, no, I'm using this to end the hallucination. That I didn't matter unless I was silent. They didn't recognize the handwriting, the footnotes, the code embedded in the account names. But it was all mine. The truth wasn't loud. It was layered, labeled, legal. Rowan, you came here for a reversal, but I'm not erasing the truth anymore. I'm just finally living where it can be seen. They didn't storm out. They left like shareholders after a bad earnings call. Silent, tight-jawed, paperwork in hand. I didn't follow, didn't offer tea, didn't soften. I simply closed the door. Not in anger, but in confirmation. By Wednesday, Ashcroft Dominion's PR team had released a vague statement about internal restructuring and renewed oversight. By Friday, Camille's boutique website redirected to a 404 page. Her Instagram went quiet. Thane's campaign ads disappeared from local TV. Not because I made a call, but because no one paid the renewal fees. Then came the envelope, cream-colored. Heavy, stamped with embossed letters. Grove and Altman, attorneys at law. Camille was suing me. Claim, my client was emotionally manipulated during a period of financial duress. The transfer of ownership was done under undue influence. The contract should be nullified due to breach of familial trust. I didn't flinch. didn't call her, didn't even open the folder until I sat across from Margaret Shaw, my attorney. This isn't a lawsuit, Rowan. It's a warning shot, and it won't land. At the hearing, Camille wore black like she was in mourning. Maybe she was, not for the boutique, but for the image of herself she'd built atop my silence. Her lawyer spoke in waves of accusation. Then Margaret stood, no drama, just documents, wire transfers, vendor memos, payroll logs, the contract, signed, notarized, filed. This wasn't coercion, it was a lifeline, and my client didn't take the credit, he simply held the rope. The judge didn't ask a single follow-up question. Motion to dismiss, granted, just like that. No outburst, no gasps, just the sound of power changing hands without needing to raise its voice. Outside, the wind was sharp. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt emptied, not because I lost, but because a part of me still thought somewhere beneath the ledger lines and contracts that maybe they'd understand. Maybe they'd reach out, but no one did. After the judge's gavel fell, the silence came fast. No press release, no email, not even a cold apology dressed in legalese. Camille disappeared from public view. Thane went back to his think tank. Father, he sent one message. You made your point, hope it was worth it. I expected the quiet to ache. Instead, it clarified, no more wires, no more silent deposits, no more keeping the lights on in rooms I was never welcome in. I opened the easel I hadn't touched in years. The paint was still good, the brushes stiff but salvageable. I mixed a gray I couldn't name, then a green that looked like something from my grandmother's garden. I painted in silence, not to sell, not to prove, just to reclaim space that used to belong to everyone but me. Weeks passed. One morning, an email came. A woman I'd met once at a nonprofit grant meeting. We're hosting a leadership summit. The theme, rebuilding without permission. We want someone who understands boundaries, someone who walked away from a table that never made room for them. They wanted me. Yes, I'll do it. Not because I needed a stage, but because, finally, my voice didn't come with a receipt attached. The room was full of women, some in heels, some in borrowed time. I stood behind the podium, no speech, no notes, just the truth. For most of my life, I said, I believed love was something you earned by giving until you disappeared. I let that sit, like a thread waiting to be pulled. But value isn't proven in silence. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is say one simple word, no. That night, I walked home with paint still under my fingernails, a name tag still clipped to my shirt, and no one waiting for me at the door. And for the first time, that felt like freedom. The email came on a Thursday morning, no subject line, just a PDF attachment, a final legal closure. Ownership undisputed, case closed, all claims withdrawn. There was no signature, no apology, just a white flag in font size 11. Outside, the air smelled like cut grass and late summer rain. For the first time in years, I wasn't monitoring overdraft alerts or vendor invoices. I was still, but stillness isn't the same as stagnation. And silence, when chosen, can build something lasting. Ghostlight Foundation lighting the path for those left unseen. The term ghostlight comes from the theater. A single bulb left burning on stage after the actors leave. To keep the space from going dark, to honor what was, to protect what might return. For years, I was that bulb, always on, alone, necessary, unnoticed. Now the light has a name and a purpose. We started small, 3 interns. One conference room above a forgotten library, but the inbox grew fast. Letters from women who'd given too much. Sons who signed checks no one remembered. Daughters who kept the books while everyone else got the credit. They didn't want revenge, they wanted space. To build, to be seen, to breathe. We don't put names on our donor's wall. Just stories, moments, proof that what is invisible can still hold weight. Somewhere, my father is still waiting for me to cave. Camille is rebuilding under another LLC. Thane's podcast stalled at episode 6. And me, I'm not loud, I'm not rich, I'm not the star of any dinner toast, but I built something that will outlast their applause, a place where quiet strength isn't just tolerated, it's honored. They called me a ghost, so I became the light.